Today we are making a blueberry pie for two, or mini blueberry pies. Now you can make these pies with fresh blueberries or with frozen blueberries. And we're making them with a pastry crust but with a streusel topping. So it's basically blueberry crisp meets blueberry pie, and it's a perfect combo. Join me in the kitchen as we make small batch recipes with big taste. Hi, I'm Leanne, and today's recipe for a mini blueberry pie is definitely a favorite at our house. Now this pie uses a pastry crust, and you've got two options. You can make a pie crust from scratch, which is really pretty easy to do, and I'll link to that recipe right up there that you'll find in my berry galette video, or you can take the easy route and you can buy a store-bought pie crust. You'll find them in the refrigerator section, and that's what we're doing today. Now, when you're working with a refrigerated pie crust, you want to let it sit out at room temperature for a few minutes because you want to be able to unroll it without it cracking. So I've let it sit so it was soft enough that I could just unroll it. And then I'm going to take a rolling pin and you're just going to roll it out a little bit, kind of all the way around, just to make it a little thinner, because what you need is you're going to use these two 5-inch pie tins. I'll link to these down below, or you can use those disposable aluminum pie tins also. But you need the crust big enough so that you can cut out around both of these pie tins with about an inch border around. So that's what I've got right here. And so we're going to just go ahead. And if you have to, you can always piece your dough together or kind of re-roll it. So we're just going to go ahead and cut around each of these. And mine isn't quite an inch all the way around, but it's going to work. All right. We'll just pull away that extra crust, so if we need this, we've got it to use. And what we want to do is we're just going to take both of our pie tins and push the crust down into it. You want it to be all the way down in, flat against the surface of the pie tin. Now, a couple of tricks. We're going to what we call par bake this pie crust. And so sometimes when you do that, the pie crust can kind of shrink down. So to prevent that from happening, I've got two tips for you. But let's go ahead and I'll share those in a minute. Take the edge of our pie crust and just form a ridge along the top. Just kind of like that. All right, and then we're going to just take 2 fingers and 1 finger along, move this out of here so you can see a little bit better, and then just pinch to give the pie a fluted edge. It's just going to make it look prettier. All right, we got both pie crusts done now, you can see. And here are the 2 tips for you. The first tip, you want to take a fork and you just want to poke holes all the way around the edge and the middle, which is going to help this release some steam as it bakes. Then the second tip is we're going to stick them in the fridge, or I just like to pop them in the freezer for about 30 minutes so that you're baking a cold crust, and that too will help prevent shrinkage. So while our pie crusts are chilling in the freezer, we're going to go ahead and mix up our pie filling. And we are going to start with a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I've packed it in there. Get it out of there. And then we are going to add in a tablespoon of cornstarch, and that's going to act as kind of our thickener for the pie. If you don't have cornstarch, you could also use xanthan gum, but I find that you don't need to use quite as much xanthan gum. I'd probably use about half the amount. And then we are going to use some all-purpose flour, and let me double check, 3 tablespoons of flour. And then we're going to add in our blueberries. Now, I'm using 2 cups of fresh blueberries today, and I find it's helpful if the blueberries are a little damp. They don't need to be dripping wet, but I've just rinsed them and let them drain for a minute because that helps this mixture to adhere to the blueberries. Now, if you're using frozen blueberries, I'd go ahead and let them thaw at least partially, and that will also then help this mixture to adhere to your berries. We're going to go ahead and add our blueberries in. Then the other thing we're going to add is I like to add in, whenever I'm working with blueberries, I like to add in a little bit of lemon because I think that just gives the blueberries a fresher taste. So I've got half a lemon in here, which is about a tablespoon of lemon juice, which we're going to use. And then I zested my lemon also, and we're going to add in, that's about a teaspoon, I'd say, of lemon zest. Now, if you don't, you're going to get a slight lemon flavor with your blueberries, which I love. But if you don't like lemon, you can just totally go ahead and leave the lemon part out of here. And then just stir this all up so that the blueberries get nice and coated. All right, we're still waiting on that pie crust to chill, and So we're gonna mix up our streusel topping. For this, we've got in here, okay, now, do you hear that? Yeah, I've got workers at my house down in the basement sawing away on something, so I apologize. I kind of live in a construction zone. But we're just gonna keep on baking. And so I have in my bowl here, this is a streusel topping, which is my favorite part of the whole pie. And I have in here 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar. I'm gonna add in 6 tablespoons of old-fashioned oats. Now, all you have is quick oats. You can totally use that. It just gives it a little bit different texture. It's not quite as chewy, but will totally work fine. We're gonna add in 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, and then 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then I have 3 tablespoons of butter that I'm gonna add in that is softened. Now, this is the other part where I've washed my hands, and I'm just gonna get in here with my fingers and pinch the butter right in with the dry ingredients so that a kind of a crumbly, pebble-like size mixture is what I end up with. You just want to get all the dry ingredients incorporated so that you don't have any like flour or anything there at the bottom of the bowl. And then just be nice and crumbly, because this is what we're going to put all over the top of the pie. Let's see. Okay, I have pulled my pie crusts out of the freezer. They're nice and cold, and we're going to pop them into a 375-degree Fahrenheit oven just for 5 minutes. Again, this is called par baking. We're not baking the crust the entire way, just partially, so that once we add the berries on top and bake it again, we don't end up with a soggy crust. Now, when you pull them out of the oven, they may be a little poofy still and maybe have shrunk down just a little bit, but that's okay. Mine have shrunk down just a little bit, but they're still gonna work great and be delicious. See, look at that. All right, so now we're ready to put our berries in. So we're gonna take half of that blueberry mixture that we mixed together and put it in half into each pie. All right, that looks about even. Okay, now we're gonna take our streusel topping and my favorite part, and put half of that on each pie. This is where I like to put it on a baking sheet like this, because with these small little pies, you can put them both into the oven at the same time. And if you get any drips, because these blueberries may bubble up and drip over the edge of our pie crust, this baking sheet's gonna catch it and it's not gonna get all over the bottom of my oven. All right, just pile it up there and kind of, you need to just press it on there a little bit to keep it from falling off. Now, we're gonna put it back in that 375-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Now, if you find that your crust is getting a little too brown on top a little too quickly, go ahead and put some foil over the top of it. But you want it to get golden brown, and you want those blueberries to get nice and juicy and bubbly. That's how you know it's done. All right, our pies are out of the oven. Smell yummy. Now, at our house, you must have ice cream with pie, especially warm pie, but you could also top this with some whipped cream if you prefer. But like I said, we like ice cream at our house. Now, this pie can be eaten warm, it can be eaten cold. You don't have to keep it refrigerated, but it doesn't, being small size, it doesn't last too long around our house. But so good, perfect for Thanksgiving, anytime you just need a little bit of blueberry pie. So thanks for joining me in the kitchen today. Be sure to check out some of my other small size pie recipes. Down below, we've got key lime pie, strawberry cream pie, and lots more. And I'll see you in the next video.